This video is sponsored by the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo.
That's right, Deathbringer. It's happening January 16th to the 19th in Oaks, Pennsylvania. See me, Bob Worldbuilder, Kelsey Dion, Baron DeRock, Brandish Gilhelm, Ben Milton, Justin Alexander, actor Ronan Wong, and industry legends Frank Menser, Jeff D, and Heidi Gygax. Get your tickets at the link below and use the code PDM for a 10% discount. Last week I released a video where I talked a little about my work schedule, how I have to work on Christmas and New Year's, and I left out. I have to work when I'm sick. So I'll do my best to give good GM advice until the chills become unbearable. This past week, Mike Mearls, formerly of Wizards of the Coast and the lead designer of the 5e team, posted this on X. Bonus actions are hot garbage that completely fail to fulfill their intended goal. It's okay for me to say this because I was the one that came up with them. I'm not slamming any other designer. He adds, I think 5e started as an accessible game that moved quickly at the table, but I wonder if 5.5 has veered more toward mechanic-centered play. Finally, I am vindicated. I talked about this in my videos, the rules I use and the rules I don't use, like 5 years ago. I mean, I never called bonus actions hot garbage, but you get the idea. At the time, I caught hell in the comments with people saying, well, if you change the rules that much, then you're not playing D&D anymore. So Mike's comments came as a pleasant surprise to me. Today we're going to touch on bonus actions, but we're also going to take a deep dive into game design. When should you play a game's rules as written, and when should you modify them or toss a rule altogether? And I'll share some ideas on how to make your combats flow faster and be less sloggy. Today on Dungeon Craft. Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor DM, and this channel is about all things tabletop role-playing games. Deathbringer, tell them what they should do.
Like, subscribe, bell, comment, newsletter, Facebook, X, Patreon for bonus content.
So Mike Mearls has left Wizards of the Coast and is now working at Chaosium. He also has his own Patreon. I'll try to link that below. And he can also be found on the Dungeon Craft Facebook group, along with a lot of other professional designers like James Spahn, who is kickstarting the White Box Cyclopedia, featuring cover art by Brett Barkley and interior art by Hodag RPG. And it's got all of James's White Box scenarios in there. If you want to play OD&D, this is the way to go. I'll include a link to that Kickstarter below. And Daniel Fox, author of Zweihander and Sellsword, and Kelsey Dion of Shadowdark. Word of warning, if you do join, you have to say only nice things, especially about other designers and me. Otherwise, I will unleash the Deathbringer.
And I will personally eliminate you from the group.
So has the new edition of D&D veered toward mechanics? In my opinion, yes. Here's the evidence. They've added more mechanics, like weapon features. They've added more bonus actions, like drinking a potion of healing. As if someone trying to murder me with a knife would allow me to chug a bottle of NyQuil. Every other YouTube video seems to be about the ultimate build or ranking the top subclasses. Everything's about optimizing. I think that's one of the reasons GM channels are not as popular anymore, because if you make videos that players can watch so they can pimp out their characters, that's always going to get more eyeballs. And then we have the anecdotal evidence. I ran a game recently for 10-year-olds, and they were real 5e players, like they really knew the rules. And in this scenario, they got trapped in an alchemist's laboratory, and like these stone doors came down, and they were going to run out of air, but the ghost of the alchemist was still there. So what they had to do was make friends with him so he could tell them how to make a potion of gaseous form, which I think was a pretty cool trap. So immediately one of the kids starts talking to the ghost, but another kid stops him and says, no, you don't have a bonus in charisma. It should be the bard that talks to the ghost. And that's when I thought, oh no. And I said to the kid, just roll the die. It's only going to be a 5% difference anyway. Now, some people like bonus actions, and if you do, that's cool. I think they're perfectly fine if you only have, say, 3 people in the group, and the players can take their turns in like 30 seconds. And yeah, I think a player should be able to take a turn in 30 seconds. But if you have a group of 5 or more, bonus actions can really slow down the game. We tend to think that the Game Master's job is to know the rules. I disagree. I think it's the Game Master's job to know what rules to use and which rules to cut and alter the game for your particular table. Now, if you've never seen this channel, I've got 3 key premises for you. Number 1, hacking the game is a tradition as old as the game itself. When I was a teenager, I played with some older kids, and they told me a natural 20 was double damage. That wasn't an official rule. It pretty much is now. It became a rule like 20 years later. Advantage, disadvantage, inspiration, they were all someone's house rules before eventually making it to canon. But you don't have to wait till the rule is canon to use that rule. And just because you change a rule doesn't mean you're not playing D&D. Like, I don't play with spell slots, and someone in the comments will say, well, you're not really playing D&D, or instead of D&D, you should play this game. Just because you change a rule doesn't mean you're not playing the game anymore. Once you buy D&D, it's yours to do with as you wish. You can hack it as long as your players agree and you're all having fun. Premise number 2, the designers of D&D don't actually play the rules as written. And I know this because I have spoken with or played with Jonathan Tweet, Tracy Hickman, Gary Gygax, and Luke Gygax, and they've all told me they never played with the rules as written. And that's because premise number 3, D&D is a different game at every single table. The rules are written for general audiences. They are written for 10-year-olds to understand. They're not written with your specific group in mind. The game will become very different depending on a number of factors, like how many players do you have? How many actually show up? How familiar are they with the rules? Are any of them newbies? Do any of them have any kind of a disability? Like they're legally blind? Do they have ADHD? Do they have aphantasia, which is the inability to imagine things in their mind? Do they all speak the same language? I've run D&D for players who all spoke separate languages. English was the only language they had in common. And I created a character sheet where there were no words, just symbols, so that everybody could understand what was going on. Hacking the game is not just an option. You have to do it for your group. So what's wrong with bonus actions? If you want Mike Mearls' opinion, you have to ask him. But in my experience, if you've got like 4, 5, or 6 players, they just slow the game to a crawl. Like the players already have this Cheesecake Factory menu of options. Spells, actions, free actions, bonus actions. And it's just another thing for the player to consider while the other players are waiting to take their turns. And you've all seen this. The magic user can't decide what spell to use. The player is not only making a decision, but they're thinking about how that decision will impact every player that goes after them. And while that's happening, there are a bunch of players not playing the game. They're just sitting there. I've played 5e, and again, this is not a 5e problem. It depends on how the game is run, but I've sat there for 10 minutes till it got back to my turn, and I just think that's boring. True story, I was with my kids at Gen Con, they're 8 and 10, and they wanted to play official D&D. Like, they thought my D&D was fake D&D, right? So I signed them up for an event. It's by Wizards of the Coast. This is back when Wizards of the Coast actually went to Gen Con. And I picked them up at the end, and I asked them, how'd it go? And they said, it was boring. I said, why? And they said, we spent 2 hours killing 12 goblins. So here are a couple tips on speeding up your combat. Daniel Fox, the creator of Zweihander, offers this alternative initiative system. Everyone tosses a d20, unmodified, and initiative proceeds from the highest number clockwise. And you do it every round, and that way it's exciting because it's unpredictable and you never know, you might win the initiative the next round. And you know who liked that idea? Mike Mearls. You see what Fox and Mearls are doing? They don't accept the rules of a game like it's written in stone. They're constantly reimagining the game and revisiting the rules to make for a stronger game experience. In my game Deathbringer, everyone can do one thing per round. One. That's it. You can drink a potion or attack. You can't do both. If you have multiple attacks, you roll multiple 20-sided dice at once, and everyone rolls the 20 and their damage dice all at the same time. Now here's the key. I go around the table and ask everybody what they want to do. And then I paraphrase it. You want to attack with your axe, your bow, your mace, your sword. You want to cast Eldritch Blast. Just to make sure I got the details right. Then I say, everyone pick up your dice. We're going to roll at the same time. 3, 2, 1, shoot. 4, 2, 6. All of those miss. They bounce off the ogre's hide. The arrow hits. You score 3 points of damage. You nick him in the shin. Eldritch Blast. You score 8 points of damage. You blast off his ear. All right, now the ogre goes, and he's attacking you because you blew his ear off. A round takes like a minute. And now nobody has to wait for their turn. And why do I do it this way? Because my group routinely has 6 or 7 players in it. And you just can't run the same game for 6 or 7 players as you are for 3 players. Sure, bonus actions can be fun. They give you more options, more things you can do on your turn. You know what else is fun? not waiting 10 minutes to take your next turn. I think leaving players to wait 10 minutes to take their turn is absolute criminal negligence. If you've lasted this long, here's a secret about 5e. The essential set goes up to 7th level. Why 7th level? Because Wizards of the Coast market research shows most D&D campaigns end by 7th level. Yes, there will always be people that play all the way to 20th level, but they are a microscopic percentage of the people that play Dungeons & Dragons any given week. Now in old school games, it used to take 3 or 4 sessions for you to level up, but starting with 5e, it was 1 level per session. Now why is that? Because the average D&D game only lasts 7 sessions. And the game is designed for the players to win. The death saves, the short rests, the long rests, revivify. All of these are designed to nerf the game so that kids make it to 7th level and don't want to rage quit the game. My players are adults. They want the thrill that their character could die. They're more interested in that than building the ultimate character. I said in a video years ago that D&D should have a hardcore mode for players who wanted a more challenging experience. Hanker Fernell over at Runehammer wrote that up as 5e hardcore mode, and I'll include a link to that below. Mark Seifter, one of the designers of Pathfinder 2, said last week on Roll for Combat that he thinks Pathfinder 2 should have multiple modes, like standard mode and killer mode for those players who want a challenge. The point is, all these designers don't accept the game as it's written. They see the game mechanics as evolving. So if actions, feats, bonus actions, or weapon features don't work for you, ditch them. If you're a new game master and they're causing you difficulty, suspend them until you have more experience. If you hear about a cool alternative initiative system, try it. You're not going to break the game and your players aren't going to quit. I mean, some may, but you probably don't want to play with them anyway. A game master is a designer. You're the designer for your table. So make like Deathbringer and hack with impunity.
Yes.
But that's what I think. What do you think? Sound off below. If you want to help me buy more NyQuil and cup noodles, you can join my Patreon, and in exchange, I'll give you tons of bonus videos, access to Dungeon Craft Discord, and my GM's notebook. I'm working on this tower scenario now. It should be pretty dope. I'm going to show you how I designed the terrain and the encounter. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon, and may all your rolls be 20s.
Like Mearls, if you ever want to start a YouTube channel and need a mascot, I'm available.
Whoa, that's kind of rude.
Well, you're kind of cheap. You didn't even tell them about the Deathbringer mini available at the link below. So until I'm poached by Mearls or Ginny D, click on these videos.